But getting into the Batman news, this week we actually had several directors that have kind of come out of the woodwork and sort of teased the possibility that they may be directing, or that they at least want to direct. And I do find it rather fascinating because I think at one point in time I might have been suggesting, hey, maybe Ben Affleck might want to come by and do a Batman movie, right? He was supposed to do a Batman movie years ago, but unfortunately, he wind up dropping that one. So I had my fingers crossed that Ben Affleck might actually do a Batman movie, but I'm kind of throwing that out the window. And we got two names this week, Indy, that wind up coming up that I thought was actually quite fascinating, and two gentlemen I kind of actually want to see a Batman movie from. So let's go ahead and dive into this. The first name that we will go ahead and dive into, and it's a probably very familiar name for you guys, Andy Muschietti, the gentleman that is currently directing the Flash movie. He also did the two It films as well. He is in the news this week, hinting at the idea that he may, in fact, be involved in the Batman movie. Now, you have to remember, when it comes to the Flash, he's actually handling two Batman in this movie, right? We've got the Ben Affleck Batman, as well as the Michael Keaton Batman. So Andy Muschietti is definitely getting his fair share of experience on this movie. And he kind of hints at it. This is from comicbookresources.com, CBR.com. The Flash director hints he may be involved with the DCU's next Batman movie. It says, while speaking with senior global editor on Twitter, Muschietti was asked what kind of spin he would want to put on The Dark Knight if he took his Batman in the Brave and the Bold direction. This came after Elliott pointed out that the director had inherited both Tim Burton and Zack Snyder's Batman. Muschietti cryptically replied, "Oh, I don't think I can talk about that yet." It should be noted that there is currently no official word regarding Muschietti or anyone else directing Brave and the Bold. And then they actually do have the interview here also, if you guys want to go ahead and certainly check it out for yourselves. But it says, The Brave and the Bold is one of the several movie projects announced from James Gunn. The film will take cues from the 2006 Batman story arc, Batman and Son, with saying this film is the introduction of the DCU Batman, of Bruce Wayne, and also introduces our favorite Robin, Damian Wayne, who is a little son of a bitch. So we still have no casting news for The Brave and the Bold, but that is, in fact, Andy Muschietti's tease, as he says, "Oh, I don't think I can talk about that yet." So he is definitely teasing that his name is in the hat there, Indy. How do you feeling about that, man?
I'm 110% down with that. I feel like if anybody's going to direct that he should. I feel like he's got a good sense of who the characters are, and I like his direction and his art style when it comes down to it. So hey, more power to him. And if he's just trying to throw some fuel on the fire and get his name out there, you know what I'm saying? And get his name out there going along with this, hey, that's the way you got to do it in the social media age.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It is one of those things, like you got to put yourself out there, right? How can you get an opportunity if you don't say you want the opportunity, right? So, and look, my thing is, look, I haven't even seen this film yet. What's up, Geek Ledger? Good to see you in here. I'm just gonna say, WB pulling in horror directors for DC's movies is a genius move. Their use of supernatural elements in connected universes and multiple installments. Yeah, look at James Wan, right? It's another great example there as well when it comes to Andy Muschietti. But look, we haven't had the opportunity to see the Flash movie yet, but that's also another movie that people are saying a best comic book movie of all time, right? People are already boasting about that particular film. So I do think that there is something, especially, look, we haven't had the opportunity to see the action. We haven't had the opportunity to see the directorial work. But if any of the trailers that we've seen from the Flash are any indication, he definitely captures the concept and the idea of Batman relatively well. Now, he didn't write this film. I believe this is written by Christina Hodges, who also wrote Birds of Prey. I don't know if there's an additional story writer on there with her or not. I'll have to go ahead and actually look up the writing credits for this movie. But as far as directorial work, I think especially him working a lot with Michael Keaton and stuff, I do think that something like that might actually benefit him. So I'm would definitely be open for that idea. So we have Andy Muschietti throwing his name out there in regards to the next director for Batman. But he's not the only one that's kind of teasing. Hey, you know what? I kind of want an opportunity too. As a familiar name, you guys might recognize has popped up. Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi is in fact back in the news here. Comic Book Resources is also reporting, or had the opportunity to sit down with him and get this glimpse. But let me go ahead and pull up this article here for you guys. It says Sam Raimi reveals the Batman villain he wants to bring to the DCU. Sam Raimi reveals to a fan which Batman villain he'd like to bring into the DCU franchise. So it says a Twitter user shared the details of his meeting with Raimi over the weekend. He says, I met with Sam Raimi at the convention today and asked him about his comments regarding his interest in directing a Batman movie in James Gunn's DCU. And he said the villain he'd want to use most, Ra's al Ghul. He says, of course, the Demon's Head is no stranger to the silver screen, thanks to Liam Neeson, who just played him in 2005's Batman Begins. But that's the one he would certainly like to utilize. I'm trying to see if Raimi, who has long desired to direct a cinematic outing for The Dark Knight, said in 2022 that he would love to helm such a project, commenting at the time, I've always loved Batman. If I ever saw the bat signal up in the air, I'd come running. If I heard that deep gurgling laugh of the shadow coming from the darkness, I would also tentatively step outside. And Spider-Man would be ahead of Doctor Strange, but I don't want to put him down the list. So he's definitely throwing his name in the hat there. Um, Indy, I'm just gonna say, I look, both of these directors I think are great in their own right. I love Sam Raimi's Spider-Man stuff. The first one is just a classic. The second one is legendary, if you ask me. Probably still maybe in my top 5 greatest comic book movies of all time. He just came back to do a Doctor Strange movie while, a little bit mixed reactions when it comes to that movie. I think visually, some of the directing work that he was able to do just worked extremely well for it. There's definitely hints of horror elements that I've always appreciated that Sam Raimi has definitely taken from his horror backgrounds. And he definitely knows how to sort of create a vibe. And when you're trying to bring out sort of like those dark corners of, say, of something like a Gotham City, right? The horrors that might, be in the shadows or down the alleyway sort of thing, or maybe not just the creatures, but just Batman himself lurking over these thugs and these people in the streets of Gotham City. If there's anybody that's gonna, like, through their direction, sort of emote a sort of tone and a vibe that you'd need for a Batman movie, I really do think Sam Raimi is just a creative genius in that sense. So this is somebody that I definitely would be open to. Look, the idea of Ra's al Ghul as the villain, I'm like, look, I feel like I've seen this man everywhere, whether it be uh, Batman Begins, whether it be season 3 of Arrow. I feel like I see Ra's al Ghul sort of all over the place. So I am a little bit over the character, but I'm not gonna lie and say I wouldn't be interested to kind of see what Sam Raimi's vision or version of a Ra's al Ghul could possibly be. But I kind of really dig the idea of Sam Raimi directing a Batman movie. Whether or not that tone will fit something like a Damian Wayne and being introduced to a son you never had for the first time, who certainly knows? But there is elements to a Batman movie that if I had to get anybody to certainly do, I definitely do think it certainly would be Sam Raimi to a certain extent. So let me ask you here, Indy. I am kind of curious as to your thoughts on Sam Raimi's Ra's al Ghul answer. But if you had to pick or choose between these two, is there a particular route that you would go before you've had the opportunity to see something like The Flash?
Sam Raimi. I would probably go Sam Raimi before, what I'm saying, I get to see the Flash. But I wouldn't want Ra's al Ghul. You know what I'm saying? I would want Sam Raimi and him using his expertise to be able to do something like the Court of Owls.
Ooh, oh, I like
Um,
that.
I feel like that presentation would be better. Just you know what I'm saying, with his background and everything, just the suspense, the horror elements that could be, you know what I'm saying, put in there, and just the whole disappearance of Batman and other people having to step up, you know what I'm saying, into this place where it's Batman. Batman might be dead, you know what I'm saying, type of things. I think that would be the more interesting story when it comes to that.
Yeah, I kind of dig that. I'm glad you wind up bringing that up. I certainly would love to see a Court of Owls direction, if they certainly went that way storyline wise. The Geek Ledger just came up. He says yes, Sam Raimi would do a great Batman and Robin movie. His work on Spider-Man trilogy and Doctor Strange Chu shows he can bring balance, comedy and drama. Yeah, Sam Raimi always definitely has some great humor in his movies that he winds up directing also. So yeah, I totally agree with you there, Geek Ledger. He is capable of certainly bringing a great balance to it. Jonathan says, "Bring on Clayface, man." That is, if there's any character that I definitely would love to see eventually brought to the big screen, I definitely am going to need Clayface at some particular point in time, just because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, oh sorry, I put indies up there. If I'm not mistaken, I know people have been asking for Clayface, even in like the Matt Reeves Batman universe. And as much as I would like that, that feels a little bit too much of a stretch. But you talk about James Gunn's DCU and the possibilities. Yeah, why not? I mean, this is the same guy that brought us King Shark, right?
Hmm.
I mean, to Suicide Squad, Starro, if the Conqueror. So if there's anybody that could bring Justice the Clayface to the big screen, I definitely do think it would be somewhere in James Gunn's DCU. And yeah, man, maybe somebody like Sam Raimi or Andy Muschietti could certainly bring that to light. But it's funny that we do bring that up because of the fact that the Geek Ledger mentioning that the WB is pulling all these horror directors. He even goes on to mention the director of Shazam, David Sandberg, directed Lights Out and Annabelle Creations also. So yeah, man, I guess horror is just a really great. Hey, whose tale is that? Um, the horror directors know how to bring a really great balance to things. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, if I had to pick and choose myself, Indy, I probably would go with Sam Raimi right now, just because I like Sam Raimi's vision is usually always so unique. Um, he definitely reminds me of like Tim Burton in the sense that when you see one of his movies, even if you don't know who's directing it, but you see it, you could probably tell whether or not it's a Sam Raimi movie or not. Like
Facts.
he just has that type of unique style to it. And so to have his own creative touch to a Batman film would be so fascinating. Even if even if it's not the best, like there's just something about his style. I really would like to see him tackle sort of the Dark Knight. Like props to Andy Muschietti if he kills the Flash and he lands this role, because I do think Andy Muschietti would bring his own great style to it. But yeah, it's something about the uniqueness of Sam Raimi that really does it for me, I think.